the last thing we have to talk about, I have to give my reaction to Georgia pulling apart and dismantling the Kentucky Wildcats. I mean, they were like a broken down car, this Kentucky team was, and Georgia pretty much took them to the scrapyard. They won 30-13. This game wasn't really close. Will Levis, I felt like he played a pretty decent game, 32 of 42, 192 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Kentucky's offense really couldn't get anything going. And I was telling people when I was previewing this game that if the run game for Kentucky didn't get going, I don't think Kentucky was going to have that much success on offense. And I didn't think the run game for Kentucky was going to get going either. Well, there were a lot of, eager Wildcats fans who came down and told me I'm wrong. I did lazy analysis on the team. This Kentucky Wildcats team is going to fight. They're physical, and they're going to have success running the football on Georgia. And I said, okay, despite the fact that Auburn and Arkansas didn't have success running the football on Georgia, 2 of the best rushing attacks that we have in college football right now didn't have success running the ball against this Georgia defense. I'm pretty sure you're not going to have success running the football neither. And a lot of Kentucky Wildcats fans were mad at me for saying that they challenged that claim. Well, Kentucky only had 51 rushing yards. Georgia had 166 rushing yards. So I think that tells you everything you need to know. And some people were thinking that maybe Kentucky could compete with Georgia up front, and that didn't really happen. And I don't really think there's a team out there right now that's capable of competing with Georgia up front, because you look at Alabama, like everybody's quick to throw out Alabama, things like that. But I don't really think that this Alabama offensive line is equipped to handle the monsters that they have up front on that Georgia defense. Jordan Davis is a monster. There are some people that are making claims for him to be in the Heisman conversation. Definitely understand why. I feel like he's one of the more dominant defensive tackles that we've seen since Ndamukong Suh when he was playing for Nebraska, Quentin Williams a couple of years ago when he was playing for Alabama. I really feel like Jordan Davis is the real deal. Now, should he be in the Heisman conversation? Yeah, I mean, I could see it. You definitely could make the argument, because I definitely feel like when he's on the field, he's one of the best players in America. Now, Stetson Bennett had a pretty good game. He was 14 of 20 for 250 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, Stetson Bennett, surprisingly enough, has been one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC this year. There hasn't really been tons of great quarterback play in the SEC this year outside of Bryce Young and Matt Corral. But after those two, I definitely feel like you can make the argument and say that Stetson Bennett has probably been the 3rd or 4th best quarterback in this conference this year. Unless you want to go with KJ Jefferson at number 3, then I wouldn't get mad at that. But I mean, Stetson Bennett has definitely played fairly well. Now it's going to be interesting to find out, when JT Daniels comes back, because I do still feel like JT Daniels gives them the best chance to win. I just feel like Stetson Bennett hasn't really been put in a situation where he has to win the game. All Georgia really is doing is handing the football off, and that's pretty much all that he really has to do. Now, he has improved his accuracy a little bit, but I just want to see what he does in a big-time environment against a team that's just as good as Georgia, like Alabama. What is he going to do in a close game? What is he going to do with the ball left in his hands to have to win the game? We don't really have those questions answered about Stetson Bennett. We know that Stetson Bennett can be a good game manager. Georgia is running a really simplistic offense, really similar to what they ran with Jake Fromm. They didn't really ask Jake Fromm to do all that much. All they really wanted Jake Fromm to do was to hand the football off and take care of the football when they asked him to throw it. And when you look at Stetson Bennett, that's similar to what I'm seeing with him right now. And he definitely can get you to a title game, but can you win a conference championship with Stetson Bennett? Can you win a national championship with Stetson Bennett? That's where the question lies, okay? Like, Georgia is beating people just because they're purely better, but what's going to happen when you face off against a team that's just good as you? We don't really have that question answered. And, I'm not trying to take anything away from Stetson Bennett, but I still feel like JT Daniels gives Georgia the best chance to win. We didn't really get to see Stetson Bennett against Clemson earlier on this season. We saw JT Daniels. If Stetson Bennett plays in that game, maybe it could have been a different outcome. But what was more impressive to me is the fact that Kentucky was held to 3.5 yards per play. Do you not know how impressive that is? You don't really see a lot of teams nowadays being held to less than 4 yards per play. Kentucky got outgained 243 yards to 416. This was just a physical mismatch. And so far this year, there hasn't really been a team in the SEC that Georgia has played that looks like they're more than capable of being able to handle this defensive line. And I don't really think that there's a team in college football this year so far that I've watched that looks like they're going to be able to match up well up front with Georgia's defensive line, and that's including Alabama, because Alabama's offensive line is far from perfect. They still have some things that they're trying to figure out. So Georgia is the best team in college football right now. That's not, a hot take. That's not something that should be up for debate. They're playing some really good football right now. They're beating really good teams. You can't use the argument of, well, who have they played? I mean, you beat Arkansas, you beat Kentucky, then you have to play Florida in a couple of weeks, which should be a really intriguing game. So when I look at Georgia, man, this is a team that is peaking at the right time. They're hitting on all cylinders, and we got to stop judging how good teams are simply by if they play the team with a number by their name, because there are certain teams that I don't need to see you playing a Alabama or Ohio State or Clemson every single week. You don't need certain schools to play the best opponents or the best competition week after week to, measure how good they are. There are just some teams that we just know just are simply good. So I'm really excited to see what Georgia does this year. Georgia was my preseason championship selection, and we knew that they probably were going to roll through the regular season. But my question really is, okay, what are they going to do when it comes down to the SEC Conference Championship game? What are they going to do in the playoffs? So I'm not really surprised with the success that Georgia's having with them being my preseason championship pick. I'm just ready to see what they're going to do when they are matched up in the SEC Championship game, which most likely would be Alabama at the moment. But you guys let me know, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, how you guys feel about Georgia. Like I said, this is the best team in college football right now. This defense is outstanding, and this is probably the best defense that I've seen in the college football playoff era so far. I haven't remember seeing a defense this good since Alabama, what was it, 2012, 2011, when they had D. Milliner. They had a bunch of guys. There was one defense that Alabama had that was incredibly nasty. I forgot what year it was. It was one of those early Alabama teams in the early 2010s when they had Agent McCarron at QB, but those Alabama defenses were nasty, and this Georgia defense is just as nasty. That front seven is unbelievable. There are a lot of Wolverines. There are a lot of, human created machines that they have, because some of these guys aren't human. Jordan Davis is a freak of nature. I've never seen a guy with his size, over 300 plus, that can move the way he does, laterally. I'm just really impressed with this Georgia defense, man. So you guys let me know how you guys feel about Georgia beating Kentucky down in the comment section down below, and I appreciate